Hey everyone, welcome back to Americans Learn. My name is Kit. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe and hit that ring bell notification. That way all of you are made aware when we upload new content onto our YouTube channel. And without further ado, let's continue on with our epic journey in Gaul. We are standing side by side with one Gaius Julius Caesar as he just finished up wrapping up operations in Britannia. No, he did not conquer the area, but he managed to at least let the people of Britannia know that Rome has eyes on their lands. But he returns back to Gaul. But things are not as calm as they are in Gaul right now, because now there seems to be a rising rebellion against Julius Caesar. Well, why would the Gauls ever do that? Name one thing that Julius Caesar has done. One thing that would cause them to rebel against him. Well, folks, we finally reached that threshold. I'm actually pretty excited for this because now we get to see probably Julius Caesar's greatest opponent in the Gallic Wars, and that is none other than the king himself, Vercingetorix. Well, he wasn't the king, he was made king, but Vercingetorix is now rising up to the occasion to stand up against Julius Caesar. So, since I'm in charge of the ones and twos, let's get ready to pull up this video, and please, please, please support the original content creators, kings and generals. The original link to this video is in the description box below. So let's follow Caesar and win another victory for Rome. Curses upon you, Vercingetorix.
Their leader, Ambiorix, successfully revolted in Belgica, ambushing and destroying the 7,000 to 9,000 strong Roman detachment that had been sent to winter in their territory at Attuatica.
Terrible.
Following this success, Ambiorix began to besiege the Roman garrison in the Nervii territory, and a general revolt in the area broke out, the Indutio Maris and the Treveri also rising in rebellion and being supported by the Germanic tribes across the Rhine. This was a dangerous position. Caesar had spread his legions across.
Now look at that. Already, like, a good portion of Gaul has separated away from Julius Caesar. So, of course, let's be very clear here. Julius Caesar's occupation tactics in Gaul have been more or less pretty rough. I mean, many armies and tribes have been decimated by Caesar and his legions, and the people of Gaul don't want the Romans there. However, what we need to remember is that perhaps maybe why Caesar's here in the first place is, one, to protect his political power and to maintain his growing influence in Roman politics. So no matter what, despite there being a rebellion, Caesar has no choice but to finish his operations here.
Gaul in order to not put too much strain on the resources of one area, and thus divided, they were vulnerable targets. However, he reacted quickly, marching directly to the besieged legion in Nervii territory, while Labienus fought off the Indutio Maris. Upon seeing Caesar approaching, Ambiorix gave up the siege to face this new threat, and was quickly defeated, while almost simultaneously Labienus was able to successfully repel his opponents. Roman retribution for this revolt was swift and devastating. The Eburones were effectively wiped out, while Ambiorix, according to some sources, left Gaul for Germania. To help stabilize the situation, Pompey mobilized 2 more legions, and Caesar himself raised another. He now had almost 50,000 men in Gaul under his command. Wow. However, this was only the prelude to something much bigger. In 52 BC, Caesar returned to Italy in order to defuse another political problem, and in the same year, another large-scale revolt.
And here he is. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him, Vercingetorix.
Started. An Arverni leader, Vercingetorix, who probably knew about the political problems in Rome, had organized an alliance of powerful Gallic tribes that, inspired by Ambiorix, were now seeking independence, and had begun attacking Roman outposts and Roman allies in Gaul. Upon hearing this, Caesar quickly returned to Gaul to handle the situation. Going on one of his famous forced marches, he swiftly...
So just take a good look at this. That is like the majority of the center area of Gaul. That's how incredible and intelligent Vercingetorix was. He was able to rally the tribes and, well, Caesar needs a true final victory to destroy any ideas of the Gauls wanting independence.
quelled the Senones and Carnutes by taking their capitals. His next target was one of the largest towns of the Bituriges, Novia Dunum. Vercingetorix attempted to stop Caesar's advance near the city, but the Roman heavy infantry was too much for the Gauls and they were forced to retreat, losing many, which allowed Caesar to take the city. To finish off the Bituriges, he needed to take their capital, Avaricum. At this point, Vercingetorix started employing scorched earth tactics, and the Bituriges joined him by burning down 20 of their towns, every one but Avaricum. The Romans moved against this settlement and besieged it, and although Avaricum was very defensible and Vercingetorix attempted to help its defenders, it fell in less than a month. Caesar slaughtered 40,000 locals and replenished his supplies. It was clear for Vercingetorix that he couldn't beat the Romans in the field. Meanwhile, Caesar was eager to end the rebellion before it could spread to other Gallic tribes, so he decided to strike the decisive blow by taking the capital of the Arverni, Gergovia. Leaving some troops in the area, Caesar marched with 25,000 towards this settlement, while Vercingetorix shadowed him. Gergovia was in a very solid defensive position, located on top of a high plateau, and Vercingetorix managed to overtake Caesar and positioned his army on the hills in front of the city. As he had done in previous battles, Caesar hoped to cut his enemy's supply lines in order to force them out of their defensive position, whilst he would be receiving supplies from the Aedui, his Gallic allies. However, the Gauls had occupied a hill overlooking the supply line, from where they could ensure water and grain could be transported into the city. Taking it would therefore be crucial to Caesar's plan. In a quick night attack, he was able to dislodge the Gallic garrison there and station 2 legions on the hill, linking this position with the main Roman camp by a trench. So far, all was going according to plan. Caesar's allies would supply him from the rear, and Vercingetorix would now be forced to either sacrifice his defensive position in order to re-establish his supply line, or be starved out. However, Vercingetorix had his own plans. He bribed the Aedui, who then also joined the revolt, attacking the Roman supplies and threatening to cut off Caesar and surround him. Once again, Vercingetorix seemed to...
See, now I'm familiar with the Battle of Alesia, and I know that, and of course I see Alesia on the map far above. From what I remember, and I guess I gotta start reading further into it, and if there's any books or recommendations that all of you would like to put in the comment section below in regards to the war in Gaul, please feel free to share them. But I wasn't aware of this pitched battle in which it turns out Caesar is the one being surrounded before the Battle of Alesia. Well, of course, he was surrounded in Alesia, but I didn't know this would happen again.
To have studied Rome's tactics deeply, as this strategy was one of Caesar's own favourite strategies. Caesar was forced to leave 2 legions to guard the Roman position at Gergovia, and took the other 4 to deal with the Aedui, quickly subduing them and forcing them to send 10,000 cavalry back to the siege with him. This revolt had Caesar worried that he might face even more revolts, and could soon be encircled by the rebels. He needed to extract his legions from Gergovia and consolidate his troops. However, the situation at the city was not looking good. The 2 legions left to guard the Roman camp had been hard-pressed the entire time Caesar had been gone. Furthermore, Vercingetorix had divided his forces, leaving half to defend and fortify the main Gallic camp in front of the city, and half, led by himself, to fortify positions on the surrounding hills on the Gallic right flank. With a 6-foot wall now in front of the main Gallic camp, and the Gallic fortifications on the hills, Vercingetorix had removed any opportunity for Caesar to encircle him and the city. Seeing the Gallic forces divided, Caesar saw an opportunity to attack their main camp in order to deal a heavy enough blow to allow his army to retreat unmolested. He sent a diversionary force of 1 legion and some cavalry to the surrounding hills, making a huge amount of noise in order to distract the force commanded by Vercingetorix. Then he quickly and quietly moved his remaining legions up to the Gallic camp, leaving a few cohorts in the smaller camp on the occupied hill, while the Aedui cavalry were sent to flank around the Gallic left by another route. The Romans quickly clambered over the wall and fell upon the Gallic camp. The Romans initially had significant success, pushing the Gauls right up to the walls of the city. But Caesar ordered a withdrawal before the rest of the Gallic force under Vercingetorix could reinforce them.
Well, wait, what's going on? He ordered a withdrawal. Why are those other... Oh, the word probably didn't get down to them.
However, only 1 legion, the 10th, heard this order and retreated, the others continuing to press on and assaulting the city itself. Some Romans managed to climb on top of the city walls, but were quickly cut down and thrown back off. Missiles from the city walls fell into the Roman ranks as they fought around the base of the walls. Vercingetorix, realizing what was happening from his position on the surrounding hills, sent the rest of his force, headed by his cavalry, to reinforce the camp. The Roman position was now truly desperate. The initial Gallic force and the city walls were in front of them. There was no way of cutting a way out by pushing forward, and with Vercingetorix crashing into their flank, the legionaries were under serious pressure and were almost surrounded.
Oh no.
The officers did their best to maintain Roman discipline and form a defensive formation. According to Caesar himself, 46 centurions died in this struggle, roughly a quarter of all the centurions present, and so maintaining any solid formation was almost impossible. The Aedui finally appeared on a hill to the Roman right flank, but the Romans, unable to tell if they were allied or not, broke completely, thinking that they were about to be fully surrounded.
Oh no.
Caesar was able to use the 10th Legion and the cohorts that had been stationed in the small camp to cover the retreat, and prevented the Gauls from chasing them down, avoiding the total destruction of his army, and withdrew from the field.
He is so lucky. If anything had gone south, or if those forces were, if Vercingetorix was able to crush those Roman legions before the arrival of the allied cavalry, because again, the Roman forces didn't know that those were their allies. I mean, geez, history would have taken a different turn.
In his commentaries, Caesar says that only 700 men were lost in this battle, but this is likely vastly underplaying the situation. Caesar being forced to assemble a rearguard and retreating shows how disastrous the battle was, and it is likely that the Romans lost thousands, modern estimates suggesting as many as 6,000.
All right, we're going to stop here because we're going to be getting into the next battle, the Battle of Alesia, the battle that would forever change the history of Gaul, and it would finally be the one-on-one fist fight between none other than Gaius Julius Caesar and Vercingetorix. So, there's a lot that we could take away from this. Since we started this series, following Julius Caesar's campaign in Gaul, it's quite clear to me that he was able to defeat many of the tribes due to the fact that there was a lack of cohesion. Yes, there were occasionally some battles where the tribes would confederate or form a bigger union. However, Caesar was able to capitalize not only on the fact that his forces were disciplined and well-armed, but he was also able to take them apart piece by piece, being the Gallic tribes. But now it's one thing to win the battles. It's another thing altogether to maintain the territory. And let's face it, there is a large civilian population that doesn't like the idea of the Roman Republic occupying their lands. So Caesar now is in a little bit of a quandary. And we actually see him get pushed back by Vercingetorix. How will this fight conclude? Tune in next time to Americans Learn. My name is Kit. Take care. The Emperor protects. Bye-bye.